All right, guys, so chapter 15 here next, liens, foreclosure, redemption. So in this chapter, we're going to talk about when you owe people money, basically. So if you owe people money, how does that happen? What are the remedies? How do you get out of it? You know, things like that. So in your book, this is page 333. So if you guys turn to 333, we'll get started there. So first and foremost, for a lien, what is a lien? Well, when you have a lien, that means you owe somebody money. A lien always involves a creditor. So in your book here on the top left of 333, you'll see the book definition of lien. It's a right given by law to a creditor to have some kind of debt or charge satisfied out of the property belonging to the debtor. The key word I would say that probably goes along with lien is creditor. When you have a lien, that means there's a creditor involved. It means you owe somebody money. Now, how are lien holders paid out if there's a bunch of them? The way lien holders are paid out is simply based on the order of recording. So lien holders, when you owe somebody money, they place a lien on your home, and then lien holders are paid out based on the order of recording. Usually the first lien placed on a home is a mortgage lien. The day you buy the home, the bank's going to place a mortgage lien on your home, and there's really, for the most part, only one lien that's going to jump them afterwards, and that would be a property tax lien. If you don't pay your property taxes, the government will put a property tax lien on your home, and that property tax lien will take precedence over all liens. So again, usually your first lien is a mortgage lien, but again, if you don't pay your property taxes, property tax liens jump all liens in order of recording, and property tax liens are first priority liens. They would take precedence over all liens. Now, also on the top left here of 333, talks about voluntary versus involuntary liens. So voluntary liens, think of it this way, they're ones you raise your hand and ask for. The most common voluntary lien is a mortgage lien. So if I'm going to buy a house, nobody says and nobody forces me to take out a loan. I am voluntarily going to the bank and asking for money. Hey, bank, please give me money so I can go and buy this home because I don't have 500 grand laying around in my pocket. I need to borrow some money. That's the most common example of a voluntary lien. Involuntary liens, on the other hand, are ones you don't raise your hand and ask for. So a good example of an involuntary lien would be like a property tax lien. What's called a mechanics or construction lien, which is a lien that can be placed on your home by anybody who provides goods or services for your home and doesn't get paid. Those are examples of involuntary liens. Liens you're not raising your hand and asking for, as an example. Also, towards the bottom left here at 333, there's a bolded term here, list pendants. And if you have a list pendants filed against your home, it means there's a current lawsuit pending against property. So if they were to ask you, which of the following would best describe a current lawsuit pending against a property, we would say that's a list pendants. So for example, if there's somebody who's currently trying to enforce some writ of attachment, writ of execution, some kind of lawsuit against your property, it might be filed as what's called a list pendants, and that's something that would pop up in a title search, which we talk about in the title insurance chapter. And then bottom left here, 333, talks about specific liens here. So specific liens, they would attach to and they would affect just one property only, whereas general liens, they would attach to and they would affect all property and all assets. So specific liens, good example of that would be like a property tax lien. So if I have not paid my property taxes on 123 Main Street, that's a lien against just 123 Main Street. Whereas general liens, good example of that, is a personal judgment. If I have a personal judgment for things such as unpaid medical bills, they could file a personal judgment against me that would attach to and would affect all of my property. So again, specific liens, they would attach to and affect one property only. General liens, they would attach to and they would affect all property. So moving on here, going to page 334. 334 on the left side, you'll see a bolded term here called equity redemption. So let's say the bank's going through the foreclosure. You stop paying your loan. They initiate the foreclosure proceeding, and they tell you, we're foreclosing on you, and the foreclosure is going to go down in 2 months' time. Between now and that foreclosure date in 2 months, I have what we call an equity redemption period. It's at that point in time where I am given the ability to come up with the entire balance of the loan, pay it off so the bank doesn't foreclose on me. So your equity redemption here, it's on the left side of 334, it's bolded here. What it says, if you want to highlight it, I would highlight the sentence above where it's bolded. And what it says there is, prior to the sale, the delinquent owner may redeem the property by paying the full amount of the judgment and all charges, and this right is called your equity of redemption. So your equity of redemption, again, if you fall behind on your loan and the bank's going to foreclose, before the foreclosure, they do give you a window to kind of, come up with the money and pay them to stop the foreclosure proceeding. And then next here, below that, it talks about a sheriff's deed. So if the bank does foreclose on you, or if you do get foreclosed on, what type of deed is going to be used to transfer a foreclosure sale? Now, in real life, it depends on the type of foreclosure, but for test purposes, if they ask you what type of deed might be used to transfer a foreclosure sale, it's going to be a sheriff's deed. So a sheriff's deed is going to be used to transfer a foreclosure sale. Bottom left here at 334 talks about something we learned about in the Chapter 14 video on mortgages. I'll just make quick mention of it. The bank forecloses on you, and the sale proceeds fall short of what is owed on the home. So if they foreclose, the sale proceeds are, let's say, $400, but you owe, let's say, hypothetically $500. The bank's allowed to come after you for that $100,000 difference by filing for what we call a deficiency judgment, because you were deficient on what you owe the bank by $100,000. The reason why they are allowed to file that is you signed a promissory note, which made the debt personal to you. It created a personal obligation for you to repay the debt. So, again, if they foreclose, they only get $400, but you owe $500, they're allowed to come after you for that $100,000 difference by filing that deficiency judgment there. And then on the right side here at 334, talks about some alternatives to a foreclosure. So the most common one I would say is a short sale. So what a short sale is I'm in a position where my house is worth, let's say, $400, but I owe $500, but I do the bank a favor. I hire a realtor. I have a realtor market my home. I have a realtor bring me buyers and everything. And for the realtor, it's the same exact process. They're selling the home with the additional, disclosure that this sale is going to be contingent upon third-party approval. The sale is going to be contingent upon bank approval in this case. So in a situation like that, what winds up happening is, let's say it's worth $400, so the realtor listed it at $400, and the offers come in. Let's say an offer comes in at hypothetically $400,000. It's right at asking, and the seller, can't really accept it yet. It's got to be forwarded along to the bank. This offer gets forwarded along to the bank, and the bank might say, listen, this doesn't work for us. However, we would take, $415. Well, now we go back to the buyer and say, listen, I know our asking price was $400, but the bank didn't approve that. The bank has approved $415, so if you want this, you got to come up to $415. If they're willing to do so, then you're all good. They come up to $415, we have a sale, and the bank could hypothetically file that deficiency judgment against you, or what they could do is decide to write off that as a loss, that $85,000 gap, and make you claim it as income and pay taxes on it. So we don't have to really know that detail part of it, but what a short sale is, again, ultimately it's when the sale proceeds do fall short of what's owed on the home. It's when you as the homeowner, the delinquent borrower, you're helping out the bank essentially because you did the job to hire the realtor and market the home. You just brought them offers basically. And if you go to page 335 here, on the left side, it talks about real property tax and assessments. We kind of talked about this already. First priority liens or property tax liens. Property tax liens will take precedence over all liens. Now, if you don't pay your property tax bill, it's not like the town says, let's call up a couple of cops this month and tell them they're not getting paid. They don't do that. What they do instead is they auction off a property tax lien, and anybody can bid on that property tax lien. And the way that somebody wins that is what they do is they basically offer to pay your tax bill for you for a charge. In New Jersey, you can bid up to 18%. If 3 people bid, the lowest bidder is the one who wins that. Let's say you owe $5,000 on your property tax bill, and 3 people bid. They bid, let's say, 18%, 17%, and 16%. The person who bids 16% is going to win that. When they win that, what they do is they basically, pay your property tax bill for you. They pay the town $5,000, and now the homeowner who didn't pay their property taxes will get some kind of notification in the mail that says somebody bought your property tax lien. They paid, the $5,000 balance you had due. Now when you pay the town back, you got to pay us back $5,000 plus 16% annualized interest. Now, in this case, the homeowner pays back after a month. The person who bought the property tax lien gets their $5,000 back plus 16% annualized interest. But if 2 entire years goes by without the delinquent, taxpayer paying their property tax bill, the person who bought the property tax lien has the right to foreclose on the property. So we call that a 2-year redemption period. So there's a 2-year redemption period when a property tax lien is purchased. But let's say, as an example, nobody buys a property tax lien. The town has to hold on to the property tax lien. If the town has to hold on to the property tax lien, it's a 6-month redemption period. So again, 2-year redemption period if somebody buys it, 6-month redemption period if the town has to hold on to it. And bottom right here at 335 talks about mechanics and construction liens. So a mechanics lien would be a lien, it could be, again, called mechanics or construction lien. This is a type of lien that may be filed by somebody who provides goods or services for a home and doesn't get paid. Contractors, electricians, plumbers, masons, carpenters, those are some examples. If they do work on your house and they don't get paid, they can file what's called a mechanics or construction lien. If they are to file one of these, it must be filed within 90 days of the completed work. So again, it would have to be filed within 90 days of the completed work. And how are they paid out? As every other lien holder, in order of recording. With that being said, with this mechanics or construction lien, they're probably also going to ask you who cannot file one of these. And the answer is real estate brokers. So if a real estate broker has not paid their commission on a sale, they cannot file a mechanics or construction lien. They would just sue the seller directly. And again, the thought process kind of behind this is that the seller has already sold that house, so the burden shouldn't be brought upon the buyer. So if they ask you in the case of a mechanics or construction lien who cannot file one of those, real estate brokers for things such as unpaid commission. So if you turn the page here, go to 336. 336 starts getting into what happens if you file a lien against a home and you don't want to wait until the property sells to get paid. You want to enforce that earlier. How might you do that? I doubt they asked this on the test, but you would file a writ of attachment, then writ of execution. First you file the lien. If that's not working, when you file the writ of attachment, what that's basically doing is you're filing an attachment against that home, which means that this home is, the person who owns the home is going to have a really tough time ever doing anything with that home as far as like refinancing is concerned, as far as selling is concerned. So we're basically kind of tying their hands behind their back and saying, pay us, or you can't really do anything. If that still doesn't work and scare them enough, you then file a writ of execution. And it's at that point in time you are asking the courts to seize as much of that person's property as is needed and sell it to pay me what I happen to be owed. So, again, if you really want to enforce a lien, it would be lien, writ of attachment, writ of execution, kind of like that. And then bottom right here of page 336 talks about descendants' debts. So, if you have a family member, let's say your father dies, and he has a ton of debt, he has debt up to his eyeballs, does that get brought upon you, and now you're responsible for paying that back? The answer is no. So you are not responsible for your descendants' debts. Now, if you and your spouse signed on, loans together and you owe money together, that's another story. But again, you are not responsible for your descendants' debts. So if, like, hypothetically, your father dies and has a ton of debt, that can't be brought onto you. That can't be burdened onto you. So that's chapter 15 recap. Shorter chapter. Hope that helps. Again, as always, you guys have any questions, feel free to email me. My email is kylekovats@gmail.com. Thank you.